Woods Farm here. Just going to do an update video on the Volkswagen Thing to Kubelwagen conversion project. I think I'm up to part 16 in the video series, and basically just so up until this point I've just been working on the chassis. If you go back to some of the beginning videos, you can see just how bad it was. It was a lot of fabrication, a lot of repair, a lot of patching rust. But I'm at the point right now where the chassis is just about done. I'm going to start working on things like the brake system, and I'm also going to start fabricating the body. So when I started out with this project, the original idea was to take the Volkswagen Thing Type 181, which I pulled out of a field. It was in pretty bad condition. I was going to fix that up and basically just dress it up so it looked like a World War II Kubelwagen. And that's been done. There's guys out there that have done it. You just take the fenders and you switch them out to something that's kind of rounded, and you give it the right paint job and you strap some jerry cans on it, and away you go. And that was my initial idea. So I started doing more and more research about Volkswagen Kubelwagens from the Second World War, and you start noticing the big differences first, and then the little differences as you continue to do research. So I started thinking, well, I kind of want to make it as good of a replica as I can, with the skills I've got and with the tools I've got, and with the base that I have, the chassis that I have. So I was looking at the body of the Thing that came on this chassis, and it had its own issues. It was starting to rust out as well, and it would have been a lot of patch jobs, a lot of Bondo, and a lot of work just getting that body back into a usable state. And I started thinking, well, why not just start from scratch when it comes to the body and go right for the Kubelwagen look. So that's one of the big things that's changed with the project. That's where I'm going to go with this at this point. I'm going to fabricate my own Kubelwagen body to go onto this chassis. And honestly, when it comes to patching up and repairing stuff and dealing with that, it can be a lot of work. So people are like, oh, it's going to be crazy, you're building your own car body. But I'm getting into the realm now that the chassis is almost done, that it's going to be new fabrication, and in some ways that goes a lot faster. You're dealing with new materials. You don't have to try to make a plan that deals with repairing old crap and patching stuff. And it's kind of like renovating a house. Often they say it's a lot harder to renovate than it is to build new, and that's been my experience. And I kind of feel like it's kind of similar with car restoration. So what's going to happen is I'm going to just build a body from the ground up. I've got a pretty good plan right now. I've got a lot of information that I've accumulated over the last couple of months. I'm going to start with the rocker panels, kind of the side, and the firewall at the front, and kind of the cross member that is at the top, and kind of the hood. I'm going to work on the front and then work my way back. That's kind of my main plan right now. There might be some of the decking at the back that I kind of build initially to kind of go up around the transmission and the engine. Just kind of the flooring for that area. I might deal with that too. And then, move on to the back and enclose the engine compartment, and, start dealing with the doors, things like that, and then later go back and work on some of the detail stuff, windshield, all the little things that make it a Kubelwagen. So there are a couple of things that I've noticed as I've gone along and done my research. A World War II Kubelwagen is really actually closer to a Beetle in kind of every way, in the sense that the chassis is much more like a Beetle. For instance, on the Thing, and I also think this is similar to a Karmann Ghia, because these floor pans are interchangeable, but on the Thing, it's straight all the way to the front. Where both doors are, it's just a straight panel. And on a set of floor pans for a Beetle, right about where the front kind of door is, it just kind of curves in just ever so slightly. And the Kubelwagen actually does the same thing. The back doors are straight, and right at the point where the hinges are for the back doors and the front doors, it actually starts to narrow ever so slightly. So I bought these pans, with the intention of using them for my original idea of just using the Thing body. And to be honest, I didn't even know about that detail at the time. So I'm going with this. So that's going to be one of the little things that I'm not going to be able to replicate exactly in terms of making a Kubelwagen. That said, what's really started making me think about making my own body was the front end of the car. The nose and the hood is so much different on a Kubelwagen than a Thing. At first glance they look the same, but what they did with the Thing is they modernized it in the sense that the nose is much flatter, and it opens up as a trunk, just like on a Beetle, and then the spare tire and fuel tank are inside there, and there's also a storage area. And on a Kubelwagen, the nose comes very, very sharp on a sharp angle downward, and it's a little bit shorter, I think, as well. And it has the spare tire on top, and it doesn't open up. There's no storage inside. There is a compartment for a jerry can, but that's accessed from inside the driver's area. And the fuel tank is actually on the inside of the vehicle, basically sitting over top of the legs of the passenger. So it's the front end, really, to me, is what's the most kind of is the biggest difference in the look of these two vehicles. So by going this route and making my own body, I'm going to get something that looks a lot more like a Kubelwagen. So I think at the end I'll be a lot more pleased with the result. So looking back at what we have here, and then you look back at what I had in the past, and what I started with, I've got pretty far, I think. I've really improved on my welding skills. I mean, some of my welding I'm not completely happy with, but I think it's strong. I think it's going to do the job. Other big things that I've gotten done, I've got the engine kind of refreshed, and I've got it to a running condition. It needs a little more work, but it was running and idling. Basically, at this point, I need to monkey around with the carburetor and get it adjusted properly, and also it needs a fuel pump that was leaking. But aside from that, I think the engine is in good condition. It had good compression on all 4 cylinders. So, and that's done. That's pretty much, that's a few hours work to change out the fuel pump and get the carburetor sorted out, and it's going to be good to go. Transmission at this point is a bit of a wild card. I'm just going to hope it's good. We will see. Time will tell. I've done a lot of work on the front end. It's the beam is off. I've replaced the beam with a used one that was in better condition, and kind of refreshed all the front end. I've all 4 brand new ball joints, a couple new tie rods. So the front end is going to be pretty much mint, and the braking system is going to be built brand new from scratch, from the ground up. Everything will be more or less new when it comes to the braking system. Things like wheel bearings and some of the drive components, the CV joints and that kind of stuff, I'm going with the old stuff, and you know, down the road if there's a problem, I'll come back to it and revisit it. So the basic plan from here is to I got to deal with the parking brake, so there's a bit of welding and fabricating to get that sorted out. I still got to seam seal the top side and paint the tunnel and the floor pans, and then I'm going to start fabricating. Like I said, starting with the firewall, the rocker panels, the side, the floor and area over the transmission and engine, and the front end, the hood. So definitely like and subscribe if you're interested in seeing how this project progresses. I think I'm going to slow down for the summer. I have a lot of farm chores and things like that. I'm going to be building a new shed for my tractor, so I don't anticipate getting a lot more work done on it this summer. But it's only March, so I've got a month or 2 to work on this still, and then I'm going to be back at it probably in, you know, October, November. So definitely keep checking back on the YouTube page to see more videos, and thanks for watching.